शुद्धं गीतामृतं महत् वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम् भीष्मद्रोणतथा जयद्रथजला गान्धारनीलोत्पला शल्यग्राहवती कृपेण वहनी कर्णेन वेलाकुला अश्वत्थामविकर्णघोरमकरा दुर्योधनावर्तिनी सोत्तीर्णा खलु पाण्डवैर्रणनदी कैवर्तकः केशवः पराशर्यवचः सरोजममलं गीतार्थगन्धोत्कटम् नानाख्यानककेसरं हरिकथा सम्बोधनाबोधितम् लोके सज्जनषट्पदैरहरः ते पीयमानं मुदा भूयाद्भारतपङ्कजं कलिमलप्रध्वंसिनः श्रेयसे मूकं करोति वाचालम् पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम् यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुवन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ज्ञानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः देवाय तस्मै नमः। अथ द्वितीयोऽध्यायः संजय उवाच तं तथा कृपयाविष्टम् अश्रुपूर्णाकुलेक्षणं विषीदन्तमिदं वाक्यम् उवाच मधुसूदनः It takes a lot of work to talk for almost the entire chapter. You know, Arjuna, he talked without taking a break. And then he talked himself into a frenzy and then whipped himself into a misery, sat down on his chariot and he had nothing more to say. All the winds had left him, you know, like a pair of bellows. It starts very loudly and then what? Goes. The air was, vacuumed out of him. He was, he was just all drained and sat down. He talked for the whole chapter. He alone talked. Nobody else talked. Yeah, Sanjaya got in a word sideways, but it was all Arjuna Uvacha. And then, that's what happens. He had this circular thinking, one thing leading to another thing. What if, then what if, then what if, then what if, what if, what if, what if. Oh, I said, I suddenly don't feel so good, he said. This is what the whole thing is. And he's feeling really suicidal. Then, why didn't he run away? He could have run away. How come he didn't run away? He could have run away. He was feeling so bad. He could have just said, you know what? Hey, Krish, bye. I changed my mind. I changed my mind about this war. Don't like it. Peace, man. He could have made the peace sign. See you around. If you survive the war, see you around, Krish. Coming back. No, I don't think I can do this. And he would have given a shout out. All right, I'm leaving, guys. Like sometimes people just send out a tweet before they're about to do something drastic. Because they cry for help. This is all it is. People do, very dangerous things. And so here, he could have left. After all, Kurukshetra, where it is? It's on the way to Haridwar and Rishikesh. He could have gone there, yeah. Gone there and had some Ganga time, alone time. But what is it that kept him, if not standing, slumped down and sitting in the chariot? What is it? Shraddha, Dharma, yes. Somewhere he knew that this thinking, even though it's sounding so convincing, and usually that's what it is, wrong thinking sounds more convincing than correct thinking. I don't know why, but but it does. The wrong thinking, which leads to wrong action, appears to be more correct. But even in that state of total distress, what happened to Arjuna? He knew somewhere he is not correct. Somewhere it's wrong. So, what did he do? Uktva tushnim babhuva. Tushnim means silent. And Arjuna, he never runs out of things to say, but here he ran out of what to say. How to go further with his argument, because he didn't know, he was talking himself into circles, giving all kinds of reasons from the personal, in terms of our people and the audacity of killing our own people, to the final one. What was that? That this is against our dharma. Yeah. First is we love our people, why should we kill them? That was a personal reason. And then he talked about the topsy-turviness of the society and how the society will have this, imbalance of women, and then the women will not be protected and they will fall under the, conquest of other men and other powers, and this will weaken the societal fabric, and as a result of that, the children will not have the same kind of training, dharma will stop, everyone will perish. And then not only that, the people who engineered this kind of things, they will go to Naraka. Who are they? We, he says. Narake, niyatam vasah iti shushruma. We have heard this, anushruma, we have heard this in keeping with the Vedas, that we are headed straight for Naraka. What is Naraka? Heaven. Good. Hell. We are headed straight for Naraka, because we are following all the recipes of what not to do. We are doing. We are killing the gurus. Gurus here means archery guru. And we are killing all the, what's its name? Brothers, uncles, aunts, plus grandfather, elders. So we are doing a very bad thing. But then it was also not right to run away. And he said, I better sit down. That's how, I just sit down and shut up. That's what he decided to do. And unto him, tam, tatha, in that manner, kripaya avishtam, to the one who was overcome by Compassion here means self-pity, and pity for the whole situation, pity for himself. He was overcome by, it's like compassion. Yes, if let's say you hear that in this country there is some horrible civil war going on, you feel sad, there is compassion. So many people perished in an earthquake, compassion. But the compassion is also based on, your own empathy. You see the suffering. That's what the compassion is based on. But here it's not about, what's the need for this war? It's not an objective compassion. It's like me, my own people, our own people. Because had he been in a different war, he wouldn't be overcome in this manner. So that is what is the deciding factor here. And therefore Therefore we have to see this very, very clearly. That this compassion here, partly compassion, partly his own self-pity. And his own self-pity for himself and the situation they have brought themselves into. And what is our greed? His whole life is flashing back in front of him, and I'm sure that he's overwhelmed by guilt, because I'm sure that infamous game of dice is flashing before his eyes. I'm sure the infamous, Draupadi's dishonor is flashing before his eyes. All the ways in which, Duryodhana insulted him is flashing before his eyes. And those signs that they should have seen, all his antisocial, psychopathic tendencies which went unchecked, are flashing before his eyes. His own untoward dealings with others, which he is not proud of, all these dealings are flashing before his eyes. So he is in a very sad and introspective space, but the introspection is not doing anything other than to rehearse the distress. There are two kinds of going within. One is really thinking about what I can do differently, where you can use the past as fodder to feed the motivations, actions and outcomes in the present and the future. That way what you do is you reverse the distress in so doing. That is introspection. But here this kind of brooding is actually rehearsing the distress, not reversing it. So when you fall into this pattern of just rehearsing the distress, all the time you keep, going over and over, and you're not coming out of it. You're just keeping on, dwelling on it. And this is where he finds himself. It's a holding pattern. You don't come out of it, and you can't even go further into it enough to make a difference, to let it just break asunder. You're just in this holding pattern, and that's where this is a very dangerous place. Because this is where, in a strange way, people are comfortably uncomfortable, or uncomfortably comfortable, because they don't have to go deeper and interrogate it, and at the same time they need not do what they are afraid to do, like this war. If you keep sitting and feeling sorry for yourself, you don't have to fight, and then you don't have to even look into what is going on. You can keep blaming everyone, including yourself, and it's not going anywhere. This is where he finds himself at the beginning of chapter 2. So unto him, Kripaya Avishtam, in this holding pattern of, in this dire, dangerous holding pattern, stagnation, a pattern of stagnation, which is described very beautifully by Sanjaya, by Vyasa, by saying that Ashrupurna Ikshanam. Ashrupurna Ikshanam means whose eyes were filled with unshed tears. That's the holding pattern. If you're crying, it's a different thing. At least something is going and flowing. And if you're not crying, you decide to, tough it out and brave it. You have already surpassed that, thing. You're neither giving way to this, neither. So the eyes are full of unshed tears. Eyes are glistening with tears. Ashru Purna. And then Akula. Akula means Vyakula, restless, distressed. Eyes have fear in them. Distress. Akula. Akula Ikshanam. Ikshanam means whose look was filled with terror and grief. Vishidantam, to the saddened one who had given up, to the apathetic, saddened one who said, okay, I'm packing in the towel. I'm done, I'm done in. You know, idam vakyam, these sentences. Vakyam means one sentence, but here we are not talking of one sentence. These words, vakya, here we can take it as these words. Uvacha, said. Who? Madhusudana. Interesting, the word Madhusudana. Madhvakyam rakshasam sudayati iti Madhusudana. Madhu is the name of a baddie, called, not Rakshasa, what's the other name? Starts with Asura, Rakshasa, same thing, Asura. And he killed Madhu, but Madhu also means what? This Madhu, Asura, Madhvasura. Madhvasura was very honey-tongued. He would charm your life out of you. Other asuras did not have finesse. They just went charging with some horrible, primal, scary battle cry and chopped the person into bits and, fried them and ate them, barbecued them. This is just Rakshasa fare, This is what they would do. Madhu was like, may I? He would say, if you don't mind. And he would convince you to give up your life. He would say, what is it? Oh, first you say, no, don't kill me. Madhu, please. I have wife, I have children, I have husband, whatever one would say. And he would say, what is this life? What is this wife? What is this life? What are you getting? Is this woman really making you happy? Well, now that you mention it. Now that you mention it, we've been fighting a lot lately. Well, see, that's my point. And the thing is, can money ever make you happy? Yes, of course it can make me happy and you can't have it. No, I don't want your money. I mean, he's thinking, I want your life. But, but I don't need your money. But I'm just telling you, I have passed by places where they do yajnas, just to drop a crow or something in it to make it, all dushita. But nonetheless, I have heard some sages say, what is this money? What is this life? Oh, yeah, that is also true. And children, do you think they listen to you? No, actually they have never listened. I just wonder how they are like this. Ingrates. Yeah, ingrates. This is how they are. Tell me, what is it in your life that's worth living? Your job? Well, now that you ask, the job is also not that great. Well, so you see, don't you think that you should have some sacrificial tendencies? Sacrifice brings punya, seva brings punya. And then, if you give up your life, me and my family you feed, and you will have so much punya. You will stay in heaven, swarga, and you will have a great afterlife. What is this life? That life is much better. Oh, okay. Here. Oh, excuse me, I'll try to make it as painless as possible. This was Madhu. That's why he was called honey-tongued. And this is all metaphorical, there is no such fellow. Really, what it symbolizes is the ahankara. The ahankara is as sweet as jaggery, as molasses, as honey. And the ahankara talks to you like this Asura just did. What is this life? Nothing. Why is it worth living? Nothing. Well, just fall into a well and die already. This is the ahankara talking. It talks you, it robs you while you're in broad daylight of your own buddhi, and then convinces you you never had it. So this is this is the ahankara madhu. And here Arjuna, our dear Arjuna is under the spell of his inner madhu. Not so madhu. Yeah. So this is the thing, like the apologetic asura who keeps peppering every sentence with please, may I, thank you, I'll be much obliged if I can cut your neck off, like this. The ahankara itself talks like this. The ahankara always pretends to be in a tuxedo, suited, booted, when in reality it's just tied up in its, in its own clothes, in its own paraphernalia, in its own get-up, in its own presentation. And it always looks to the outside world as though it's just in an impeccable tuxedo, filled with all kinds of whatever, those tie, bows and everything. And this is the ahankara. Except the tuxedo is worn by a cardboard cutout. That's what it is. It's not a real person. It's a stand-in. Yeah. That's why some of the sannyasis carry the cane, danda. And they say, I have externalized the ahankara. This here is the ahankara. It's going to do all kinds of things, and so that I can just look at it outside. And that cane will also have a little, small, you see there in the photo of Adi Shankara and his disciple, a small little, what is that called? A little bag. That is the carrier of the Papa Punya. Punya Poltis, Papa Poltis is there for this cane, and they say, I am not this. This is one way to keep that. These are called Hamsa Sannyasis, Dandi Sannyasis. And so here, this ahankara, otherwise what happens? This is, one doesn't remember where one begins and where the ahankara ends, where the ahankara just wraps itself around Satchidananda and convinces Satchidananda to cough up its limitlessness, and convinces Satchidananda Atma that you are limited, you need me. That is how the madhu ingratiates itself into the life of the person, the madhvakya ahankara. So this ahankara, which is called madhu, basically, slowly, it deploys the method of the camel. Muhammad's camel. When the Prophet was going somewhere, he had one camel, and then he decided, because it was night, he pitched up a tent. It was also folded up on the camel, and then tied the camel to the leg of the stake of the tent. Camel outside, him inside. Then camel, came in the tent. My feet are so paws, hooves, whatever they have. Hooves are so cold. Can I just put the hooves? Yeah, sure. And he was sleepy. Prophet said, yes, hooves. And then what? My nose is so cold. And like this, every hour it woke him up. And in the morning, Prophet outside the tent, camel inside the tent. This is ahankara. It displaces you. Yeah. It displaces you. It unnerves you so much and displaces you. And then the beauty of it is, all the time it has said please and thank you. And it has been the epitome of, politeness. And it has, enlisted your help in all its dirty little deeds. And in other words, not only has it robbed you of your thinking, but then made you feel bad for having done that. This is ahankara. That's why Madhusudanaha, the one who is the slayer of the ahankara, is the one who is invoked here by Sanjaya. Very interesting. And another thing about the ahankara, the definition of ahankara is, what is the definition? I-ness. Yeah. I-ness. No, I-notion, I-ness, correct. But there is a specific technical definition. Bring some water, please. So, there is a technical definition. What is that?
Doing.
Vicharam na sahate. Sahate cannot tolerate. Na sahate cannot tolerate. What is that?
Cannot tolerate
enquiry. Just like the politicians that are elected into what's its name? Like the politicians that are elected, into any government. Correct? Mm-hmm. They all look good on the outside. You conduct an enquiry and out come all the scams, and all the problems. Everything comes out. So, vicharam na sahate. They cannot stand inquiry. As soon as you inquire into them, this is a trivia of the newly elected members of parliament. In India, 1 out of 3 or 4, I think 1 out of 4, has had some trouble with the law, has had a little rub with the law. This is a huge thing, yeah. Because for a ministerial post, you shouldn't have had any kind of a record. So, a quarter to a third are automatically disqualified from being cabinet ministers. Not that the rest may be, above par, we don't know. It's a question of not yet caught, that's all, many of them. So, like this, it is like politicians in the modern day political climate in any country. There's all these scams. Each one has huge things, huge, things that people are suppressing and not coming out. And the ahankara is much like that. The ahankara is like this politician who has no ability to withstand any kind of inquiry. So, like this Madhu, you say, where are you located? Who are you really? Ooh, I don't exist. You crawl under a rock and never be heard or seen from again until one again becomes vulnerable. And then it overshadows. So, Madhusudana, the slayer of the ego, because the ego here, how has Arjuna's ahankara betrayed him here? Arjuna's ahankara, like an eclipse, has just identified with everything that was bad, and he has created a set of reasons based on his raga and dvesha. Dvesha for the war, raga for his people, and these two raga dveshas have powerfully aided the ahankara in surmounting what he thinks is a impregnable defense of ideas and ideologies. So the ahankara here is sitting behind the ideologue, the one who spouts dharma, as though Arjuna had written a book on Dharma Shastra. And he repeatedly keeps on doing this. And then what happens? And Arjuna is caught in this because Arjuna believes in this whole chicanery of the ahankara. So how to slay this ahankara? Let's wait and watch. Shri Bhagavanuvacha Kutastva kashmalamidam Vishame samupasthitam Anaryajushtamasvargyam Akirtikaram Arjuna. Yeah, to slay the ego, you can't adopt its own tactics of may I, if you don't mind, will you please get out of the way? I think you're in the way of clear thinking, clear action, clear knowledge, and any kind of decisiveness. I think you have bamboozled my Shishya to be and done horrible things. So will you please get out of the way? What will Madhu say here? I am not in the way at all. You see, I am just trying to give a hanky to the one who is sad. I have not caused this. So what is needed here, is a shock treatment. Yeah. For shoka, you have to give shock. Yes, shoka is sorrow. You have to give the English shock, the word shock. You have to shake them out and bring them back. And sometimes that's what it is. Sometimes, when people are just beyond reason, you have to, throw some water on their face or drastically, bring them back to present time. And so this is Krishna's attempt at bringing him back to present times. Kutaha. Kutaha means from where? From where has all this come? Kashmalam. Kashmalam means this dredge, this sludge, this sludgy thinking. Kutaha, tva. Where has this tva means for you? Where have you taken leave of your senses? Where has all this come from? In fact, I thought I knew you. You've never behaved like this in all my life. This is a big surprise. You think you know someone, Arjuna, and you have done a kind of a 180 on me. What is 180? Complete flip, yes. Either I am imagining things or you have taken leave of your senses. Yes. And so, what is going on here? Kutaha? Kutastva? Kashmalamidam? Where is this agony coming from? Where are these negative emotions coming from? Where is all this sludge coming from? And Vishame Samuspasthitam means, in the Vishama here means a kind of a drastic situation like the war, another crisis. In this crisis, in this drastic situation when we have to be thinking and planning what formation should we greet the enemy with, which one shall we biff first, and which one shall we attack first? Shall we attack from the sides or from the front or all around? We should have some strategy. If we are talking at all in the din of this, drums and conches, we should have a meaningful conversation about the war, about our strategies. This is not the time to hobnob and talk about past memories, and this is certainly not the time to burst into tears or get in this horrible well of this, from which you cannot emerge, of this holding pattern of the past. And he sees right through the reasoning of the dharma, the heaven and everything. And he says, Vishame samupasthitam, samyak upasthitam. Here nicely we have been, we are passing the muhurtam for the war. We have assembled here for a purpose. This is not a party. This is not a support group. This is not group therapy. If it was group therapy, you can break down and even before your turn, okay, you couldn't wait for your turn. Okay, fine. But this is not group therapy, this is not mass hypnosis, this is not a support group where everybody comes and, adult survivors of the Mahabharata war. Only Parikshit. Anyhow, and everybody comes, oh yes, it was so horrible, so sad, and everybody makes some apple cider and sits down and drinks and talks about it. This is not that kind of a support group. And this is not, WA, Waraholics Anonymous, where you come and, say, I am a waraholic and I should have not fought and I have all these things and it is completely out of my control. If I see more than one person anywhere, I pick up my arms. This is my addiction and I admit it. This is not this kind of an atmosphere for bringing out the feelings. This is the atmosphere of action. Because if you miss one arrow and it zings 2 inches closer to your neck, finished, 2 millimeters, it's all the difference. So, what on earth are you doing here? Are you out of your mind? Vishame, that too in this kind of a drastic situation of action. I mean, we are facing a crisis of unprecedented proportions. And here you are having, this feeling sorry for yourself. This is not the time. Snap out of it. Now, Arjuna. And, and he says some insulting things. Anarya. Arya means noble. Anarya means ignoble. Yeah. Ignoble means this does not suit you. Your princely clan, your dynasty. Ajushtam, unbefitting of you, not praiseworthy, certainly not praiseworthy. And then all this talk of going to hell, you said you don't want to go to hell, that's why you won't, follow the war, you won't fight this war. All this talk, this big talk you gave, Dharma Shastra, you told me, this is asvargyam. You think that sitting here and shedding tears is going to take you to heaven? In fact, this is a faster train to hell because of dereliction of duty. In fact, that adharma was actually a slow train, you know. Yeah, but here this one has no stops. This is going to make sure that you get there. Yeah, it's Naraka Express, you know. Aswargyam. Yeah. Aswargyam. And then what else? Okay, let's say you survive. This is if you don't survive, you know, because at the rate at which you're sitting here slumped, you know, and I'm having a hard time warding off the arrows. Have a heart. I'm sitting in the front. Every arrow has to pass through me. And if we are not moving, we are sitting targets. Yeah, and I'm already worried. What's going to happen? You know, and all the time I'm not going to be saving you. So if you perish without fighting and sitting like this, you are going straight. You won't even, the disembodied you, the jiva, the devoid of the body, the Arjuna, the jiva, will not even have time to bid goodbye, look to the left, look to the right, and have a last look at Kurukshetra. Nothing. Before you say what happened, you think you're already among all the people you did not want to be. And, you know, in Naraka, that's where you will be. And, you know, that is for sure. And you think that you're trying to avoid Naraka by not fighting the war. But, well, you don't, you know, I have bad news. More bad news for the one already assailed with bad feelings. And then let us say that by some miracle you survive. You're going to make your life a living hell here itself. Why? Because akirtikaram. Kirti means, you know, the lauding, the fame, the cries. Long live Arjuna, long live Arjuna, A for Arjuna. All that. Yeah. These are the cries, right? Yeah. And so like this, there will be so many cries. And because he is not an ordinary person, everybody is deriving, enthusiasm, inspiration from this fellow. And then here he is just sitting like, you know, with a pacifier in the mouth. And sucking on a pacifier, you know, remembering his mummy and shedding tears and feeling utterly sorry for himself. And other people are not having a problem, but he is having a problem. And he who never had a problem is having a problem, you know. This is what people tell me many times, that until I studied Vedanta, I was fine. As soon as I started to study, something horrible happened. I never even knew what happened. Yeah, this is what it is. So Vishama, this is very interesting, the crisis brings out the unconscious. Yeah, the trust and crisis, there should be like a rainbow, you know, what an example. So like a rainbow coming out, you know, there has to be certain ingredients. There has to be enough moisture, there has to be water, and then sun, all at the same time. Then the rainbow comes out. So similarly, the rainbow of the unconscious flares into its myriad and varied colors when there are certain ingredients. What are the ingredients? Trust. Krishna provided that trust by saying, I am with you. Don't worry, you're not alone. In fact, I'll drive your chariot. Total trust. And then what? Crisis. So that just like water and sun make a rainbow, water, humidity and sun. So the crisis, feeling sorry for oneself, and the trust together brought out the black and blue of the various colors of the Arjuna's unconscious, came out to play, and they shocked Krishna. Krishna, who was shocking Arjuna, who was giving shock treatment himself, said, where did this come from? Is this you? Is this really you? Or is it your twin brother? Is it some, horrible look-alike? Are you playing a game? Because Arjuna was a prankster, so they would always play games. Are you playing a game or are you for real? Krishna was just very, surprised. And then he said, Akirtikaram. Akirtikaram means not something that is going to go down in the annals very well, especially in your own biography. your biographers, will be, not feeling like picking up their pens to write your biography because there's nothing to write. Arjuna the detractor, Arjuna the derelict, Arjuna the runaway boy, What is the title of the biography here? What is going to be the title? Arjuna the scaredy cat, Arjuna meow. These are the things. What will they write? Biographer also. See, the biography writing is not easy because the biographer has to be inspired by what you have stood for and what you believe. Yeah. And here, Akirtikaram means no biographer, no filmmaker is going to touch this story ever. What are they going to title it, Yeah, none of these are Kirtikara titles. Kirti means laudable, famous. Kirtikaram means that which causes fame, causes there to be fame. This is Akirtikaram. In fact, you're going to be infamous. You're going to be notorious. Arjuna, the runaway train. Arjuna, the coward. Arjuna, the chicken. Or the chicken-hearted. And this is what people are going to think, and this is his thesis statement. He's going to expand on it in the rest of the chapter. This is just his pratigya here. And so, it is very akirtikaram. Think about your children and grandchildren. They will just feel like blotting you out as soon as they think of you. And their mothers will say, don't take that person's name. Don't take your grandfather's name or great-grandfather's name. They will tell the children. All the mothers will be just not wanting to even have, and somehow somebody will go on, pandavagenealogy.com and erase your name. Yeah, they will log in and they will erase your name. So sons of Pandu will be who? Dharma Raja, this one, what's his name? Yudhishthira, and then Bhima, Nakula and Sahadeva. And then where Arjuna's name was, they were not very good with software, and so there is a big gap, that's all. That's how it will be. This is Akirtikaram. And don't think, and he's talking to the ego, which likes Kirti.
Yes.
Ego wants felicitations. And sometimes it, even likes dubious distinctions, like you have been made the president of the Society of Idiots. Oh, wonderful! At least in the Society of Idiots, I'm the best. So the ego falls in all these traps. Itself very clever and honeyed, but the ego, the ego succumbs to flattery. Yeah. And so, you see, there are two ways to attack this kind of a situation. Either you praise the person till they burst, till the ego burst, or you just bring down that person completely and make them a threadbare, remnant, and then you wipe the floor for good measure with that, and then the ego just goes away, leaving the person behind. So the ego here is that which identifies with the raga dveshas as the personality as itself. Yeah. So there is a person-personality confusion, and the ego here is just totally identified with that sorry feeling, wanting to leave, pacifist, sudden dharma, Baba, Arjuna, he has become a Baba now, and then he's going, he's wanting to just leave everything to fate, and he says, unarmed, let them hit me, let me die. And he's responding, Krishna is responding very nicely to each and every one of his things. First, Anaryam, here you were talking about the family values and the clan values, and what about what are you standing for? How, by talking about the family values, by who? Who is talking about the family values? The one that has no valor. So anaryam, so that word is in keeping with all the things that he said about family dharma, kula destroying the family and all these things. Ajushtam means you, the warrior you are. It is, it is so wrong. What you are doing is so unfit for your stature, and also it is not going to bring you aswargyam. It's not going to bring you heaven. If you die now without picking up a single, mace or a bow, you know where you're going straight to. And if you live, you'll scare the living daylights out of yourself, because whoever sees you is going to spit on you. This is what you will be reduced to. So you need to rethink this. And then he's not done yet. Then he says, Klaibyam masmagamav partha
Klaibyam masmagamav partha
Naitatvayupapadyate
Naitatvayupapadyate
Kshudram hridaya daurbalyam
Kshudram hridaya daurbalyam
Tyaktvottishta parantapa.
Tyaktvottishta parantapa.
Yeah, Klaibyam means neuter. Yeah, meaning you are not fighting like a man. If a man went to the battlefield, he would have his own way of fighting. You're being very unmanly. If a woman went into the battlefield, she would have her own way. But looks like that 1 year of incognito life as a eunuch, teaching thai thak to all the palace ladies has put you in this mindset of being unsure of even your gender. You're neither thinking like a man nor thinking like a woman. You're somewhere in between. Don't yield to this unwomanliness, this in-between place. This is what a holding pattern. Don't yield to this, because it's making no sense. Klaibyam mas magama. Gamaha means don't go there. Literally, do not go there. You have entered dangerous terrains of what? Of wrong arguments, of despair, rejection, fear, terror, sorrow. You totally overcome. Because even a warrior woman who may be sending the male, there have been wonderful warrior women in history of India as well. Like Chennamma, Rani Chennamma, Lakshmi Bai, so many people are there. And they have fought for the country, for their kingdoms. But also, even in the ancient times where women did not fight, they would send the men off without any tears. That is the valor. They would send the men off with blessings to be victorious. And you see that even in the Ramayana. Tara, the wife of Vali, and Sugriva, she was both their wives. And then so she sends them both. May Dharma be victorious, she says. And so like this, the woman also is not going to give in to all these despair and dejection. There may be a time for that, but this is certainly not the time, and this is certainly not the occasion to sit and make a mess here. Yeah, we came here for a blood bath, not for your bath of tears. And so stop it, don't go there. Klaibyam masmagamav partha, and he calls him Partha, mummy's boy. Prithayaha apatyam. Yeah. You're like a mama's boy, still holding on to the apron strings, wanting permission for everything. Shall I go to the bathroom? Can I come out of the bathroom? Shall I brush my teeth? Or shall I wait for another time to brush the teeth? This is those times of asking for every single thing is gone, Arjuna. Partha, Prithayaha apatyam, you son of this mummy. And what? You have outgrown the the sari, in the sense, don't hold on to the sari, or you'll be very, very sorry. So, let go of the sari. Start to think for yourself. Don't give me all this useless, useless reasoning. Na etat, this does not, tvayi, in you, upapadyate, in you it does not give any kind of it does not belong in you. Yeah, it's not befitting for you. Yeah, because it is characterized by hridaya daurbalyam, weakness of the heart, weakness of resolve here. So the resolve which you had made for the war is now what? Gone and displaced by your own ragadveshas. Yeah. And then kshudram means weakness, lowliness. So this kshudram is the smallness, small-minded thinking. What is this kshudram? Like, what is an example of this kshudram? My own people, and this is what will happen, and then that's what will happen, and then this is what I don't want to do this. They may be fighting, but I shouldn't fight. He thinks it's lofty. This is why the Madhusudana epithet is very good here, because Arjuna is thinking this is lofty thinking. Arjuna's ahankara is thinking that I have just delivered a wonderful, incisive rhetoric on dharma. But actually what? It's just a lot of empty pots clanging together and making a lot of noise. That is not incisive. It is undecisive, yes, but it is not incisive. It is not inspiring. It is in fact not even dharma, because in dharma, the same dharma says if there is a terrorist out there and you need to wage the war and silence this person, because otherwise they will be already continuing to oppress other people. So don't go here. He says kshudram, this is the lowliness of thinking. That when there are so many ways you can be thinking about how the people are going to, if you really are worried about people, think about how the people have been oppressed under Duryodhana's regime for 13 years. Look how this old regime has oppressed the people. And look how Duryodhana is a war-mongering, greedy, power-monger, power-hungry king who is occupied the throne wrongly, and he is just terrorizing the people. So therefore, you have to think of releasing the people from this terror. You, as a warrior, that is your job. This was the first war on terror. Atatayin means terrorist. This was the first war on terror in history. Homegrown terrorist, palace-grown terrorist. And this is what you should be thinking. And instead, what are you doing? You're engaging in kshudra, lowly, useless, hopeless, helpless thoughts, which show what? Hridaya durbalata. Hridaya means heart. What kind of heart? The emotional, spiritual heart, the place where decisions are made, the mind. Daurbalyam, which shows mental weakness. So these two things, and which are they? Kshudrata, Hridaya durbalata, and also the third one, which, Klaibhya, Klibata, all these things you please abandon. Tyaktva, having abandoned, get up, stop sitting there slumped in the chariot. Get up now. The world is watching. The world is waiting for you to get up. Does he get up? No, not yet. He continues to sit. But he appears to have found his voice through the fears and the tears. How do we know? Arjuna Uvacha. He squeaks out some things. Let's see what he says. Katham bhishmamaham sankhye.
Katham bhishmamaham sankhye.
Dronancha madhusudana.
Dronancha madhusudana.
Ishubhiv pratiyotsyami.
Ishubhih pratiyoshyami.
Pujarha Varisudana.
Pujaha Varisudana.
Yeah, I forgot to, maybe didn't do the word Parantapa. Yeah. Paran Shatrun Tapayati iti Parantapa. Tapa means the one who makes the enemy have fever. Just when they look at him, the scorcher of the foes is how it is described in English. But scorcher of the foes can mean many things. But I like to look at it this way: that the very sight of Arjuna, the people in the enemy ranks suddenly start developing stomachache, suddenly start feeling chills and feeling feverish. The sight of him, that is his bravery. So you see, Partha, first line, Parantapa, second line. So he is invoking who he really is, even at the level of the Vyavaharika, the personality, but a enlightened personality who is, in keeping with his, duties. He is invoking that one versus the Mama's boy who he has receded into. He has receded into some kind of a horrific second childhood where he is afraid of everything. And this is what he's by deploying these two words together, Partha, Mama's baby, and then Parantapa, the scorcher of all the enemies just by looking at them. Fire is coming out of his eyes and going into the hearts of the enemies, terrorizing them, and they flee the battle when they look at him. This is his Mahima, this is his glory, and this is what it is. And so he says, then he finds his voice, and he has some coke and all that is being sold at the vending stalls there. And somebody seeing that he's distressed goes and brings him some soda, and then so his enthusiasm returns with a few bubbles that he ingests, and then he says, it's very interesting, because if his ego was too big to fail, what would it have done? It would have got angry at Krishna. Hey, who are you calling Kliba? Not me. You Kliba, you. He would have said something like that. Who are you calling Kshudra? Not me. You have Kshaudram. Not me. But he doesn't defend himself. In a way, that could be because he is far too gone, or it could also be that he has the Shraddha to just know that, okay, I need some help here. So then he starts off on a different rant, but a related rant. Yeah. And because Krishna says, what was the last words of Krishna before this fellow talked? Before this, huh? No, before, take it so literally. Yeah, before the Parantapa, what did he say? No, read the text. Yeah. No, read. What's the last thing he said? Uttishta. Ayyabba. Yes. Yeah. Uttishta means what? Get up. Stand up. And his answer is Katham. How? How to get up? It can't even put one foot in front of the other, he said. Name shaknomi avasthatum, he said, I can't stand anymore, I need to have a sit down. He said that in the last, chapter. Brahmati, I'm having chakkar, Brahmati me manaha, and name shaknomi avasthatum. Avasthatum means to stand. Na shaknomi, I cannot stand anymore. And he quickly sat down saying that. And so then again he says, get up, for crying out loud, get up right now. And what does he say? How? Katham. How to get up? Why can't you get up? Katham bhishmam chadronam cha aham sankhye ishubhihi pujar hava bhishmam dronam cha sankhye pratiyotsyami. He Madhusudana, he Arisudana. He gives him another epithet now. You killer of enemies. I'm not, you are. And you killer of the ego, all right. You've done a number on my ego, theek hai. But then you are asking me to get up. But what is not making me get up, and the reason why I continue to be in the, what is that position when the flight is coming down? Brace position, yeah. Where you put your head on your knees and you become into a little fetal ball, as much as it is possible to in a sitting position. You curl up, you had curled yourself up into a fetal position, pacifier in one hand, Blanky in the other, because he's let go of the Sasharam, Chapam, along with the arrows, the bow has been let gone off. And the pacifier and Blanky he carried in a kit bag came out. And then what? And then he's sitting there and again feeling sorry for himself, and he says, I'm not pretending. If I could get up, I would have got up. I cannot get up. How to get up when the very thought that, of killing those who are worthy of my worship, like Pitamaha Bhishma, like the grandfather Bhishma and teacher Drona, how can I kill? When I think of them, I feel ill. The thought of me killing them makes me feel sick to my stomach and makes me literally paralyzed with confusion and fear. Katham aham, how can I, Bhishmam cha Dronam cha, Bhishmam Dronam cha, Bhishma and people like Bhishma and Drona, Sankhye in the battle. Ishubhihi, with arrows, Prati Yodsyami, I retaliate with arrows. I fight back with arrows. Who are these people? Bhishma and Drona, Pujarhau. Bhishma Dronau. Pujarhau means, Arha means deserving of. What? Puja. They are deserving of worship. Why, because even before the war, Yudhishthira goes and falls at the feet of Bhishma and Drona and takes their blessing. Yes, in a few minutes we'll be enemies, but please bless us. This is how it was. They were stalwarts. They were all worthy of being done arati to. And they were all just so wonderful. They were in the capacity of advisors. And Arjuna and Bhishma shared a special relationship. Bhishma knows Arjuna from childhood. These are the elders, like fathers, role models, authority figures who are worthy of worship. And he says, this is what I cannot stomach. I cannot digest this fact. And you are saying, forget all that and get up. I am paralyzed from head downwards. I cannot even think, forget, get up and act. I cannot even think straight. And then he says, that's why I have this feeling that I should go to Haridwar because it is close by. And then, once you start wearing orange, everybody looks alike. It's just like a mass of orange. So I'll just live off my life in a cave, live out the rest of my life in a cave, incognito, living on alms. Forget this war. I cannot handle it. I'm paralyzed. The thought, and don't think that just because you're giving me a pep talk, it's going to help. It's not going to help. I'm just I have recovered enough to tell you and articulate more clearly what I feel, that's all. I'm not done talking. I just took a little breath. So this is a new vein of, because Krishna doesn't listen to his talk on dharma because it's a badly crafted talk. It's full of big holes in reasoning. So now he is trying a different tactic. It's not that he's making up excuses. These are all things he genuinely feels and shifts from one to another. So he tries to go at it from a different angle. And this angle has to do with, it's not so much about killing one's own people, but now it is more why I don't want to fight. I want to take sannyasa from fighting. I want to let go. We'll see tomorrow more. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Harihi Om.